Hi friends, welcome to my channel Medical School. I'm going to help you all cbse class 10 students with biology lectures. Listening to my lectures will help you in scoring good marks before the exams and will stand a good position in the class. Okay, let us start the class with life process. So, when can you say an organism is alive or not alive? For example, if a man is shouting, or if a dog is running, or if cow is chewing, with these three things you can see the organism is alive. Okay, then if these scenarios the man is sleeping or dog is sleeping or cow is sleeping, then how can you say they are alive? So for this for this there is another example, like we see them even though if they are sleeping, we see them even though if they are sleeping, we see them whether they are breathing or not. Okay, if they are breathing, we say them alive. Some organisms like plants, we can't see them breathing even though they are alive. So for these organisms we see a second concept called growth. The growth is present, they are alive. If the growth is not present, they are not alive. But for that also, if some plants like there is no growth, some plants have no growth, they have a stable growth throughout their life. So for this, we can't say them they are not alive. For them, we see whether their leaves are green or not green. If they are green, they are alive. If they are not green, we can't say them not alive because some plants may vary with color of the leaves. And also with movements, we can't judge whether the organisms are live or not live because organisms like viruses, especially all we know coronavirus, they are very small in nature or they are micro in nature. We can't see them moving in nature. So next thing is uh, differentiation between unicellular organisms and multicellular organisms. All the organisms in the earth, they obtain all substances through some or the other process. For example, unicellular organisms obtain through simple diffusion method, which means in the environment there is a lot of concentration of substances which makes them diffuse into low concentration substances. In case of multicellular organisms, which means Group of cells are organized into tissues. For example, group of cells called liver or group of cells called kidneys or group of cells called heart are called as tissues, which will be obtaining all the substances in mutual from nature through a process called respiration or life process. So with this we complete introduction lecture. Now we move on to lecture 5.1, what are life process. There are many life processes included for multicellular organisms. If an organism has started its growth from starting to ending, or organism or human being from our birth to death, our body undergoes many changes which are maintained by our body through a multiple process. For example, the body has to perform this maintenance throughout a life of human being by a process called life process. So we will discuss with some of the life process, and you can thoroughly go through this process. First is nutrition. Nutrition will help the body for energy. Energy will be helpful for breakdown of larger molecules into smaller molecules. And second thing is process called this energy with the help of carbon dioxide and other substrates undergo various oxidizing reactions and by a process called acquiring energy from outside and conversion into smaller compounds for cellular needs is called as respiration. The third thing is the compounds which are left in the body after the respiration has done are eliminated outside the body through a process called excretion. However, between respiration and excretion, there is a process called transportation, which will help all the tissues in the body to gain equal amount of nutrient substances. So now we had learned the basic processes in the body. So we will do with exercises in the questions. So first question is, why is diffusion insufficient to meet? Diffusion is insufficient in multicellular organisms. So the answer for this is, in multicellular organisms there are large multiple cells which are organized to form tissues, and tissues group of tissues is called as an organism. For this organism to form, they require a complex life processes like transportation, respiration, excretion. All these processes are needed for multicellular organisms. Second question is, what criteria do we need to decide whether something is alive? For something is to alive, the criteria needed is respiration, movement, transportation, excretion, nutrition. All these substances will make you the thing is alive. Raw materials for an organisms are carbon dioxide, water, O2, and all other nutrients. The fourth question is, what process would you consider essential for maintaining life? Processes maintaining for life are nutrition. Fourth question, transportation, excretion, respiration, etc. So let us start our 5.2 exercise like nutrition. So the question is, how do living things get done? Food. Okay, nutrition is divided into two types: autotrophic nutrition, heterotrophic nutrition. Autotrophic nutrition means, example, plants and some bacteria. They prepare their own food with the help of CO2 and water by releasing oxygen and carbohydrates through a process called photosynthesis. Heterotrophic organisms are carnivorous organisms which cannot prepare their own food, depend upon others for food. Examples are human beings and all animals. Autotrophic nutrition is done with the help of photosynthesis. Photosynthesis takes place in plants. In the plants, there are leaves. If we cross section a leaf and we see them as a trigony, there is a substance called chlorophyll. In the chlorophyll, there is a chloroplast. This chlorophyll and chloroplast will help in transportation of gases and water. So, in the leaf, there are two types of cells called as guard cells. In the leaves, there are two types of cells called guard cells. Guard cells has an opening center called as stroma or a pore. In the guard cells, there is a chloroplast. The stroma, where there is a exchange of water and gases, will help in photosynthesis. Availability of sunlight and water and gases will decide to open or close stroma cells. And nutrition for heterotrophic organisms will adapted from environment. The food is divided into stationary or like grass, and it is also mobile like deer or other low animals. Some organisms where the food is break down into smaller molecules and then they absorb it into the body. Examples are fungus like bread mold and yeast. And we will go with the next chapter. How are some of the organisms like amoeba or unicellular organisms, there is a nutrition. Amoeba is a flagellate organism which changes its shape from one shape to other shape with the help of its cilia called as pseudopodia. Whenever there is a food is present for amoeba, there is a nucleus inside. Whenever there is food is available, the amoeba goes near the food and it will change its position to form a pseudopodia. With this pseudopodia, they form the vacuole. They form the food vacuole. This food vacuole goes into the cytoplasm and the food is absorbed. In case of nutrition in human beings is as follows. We have a long alimentary canal which extends from mouth to anus. In between, there are multiple parts helpful for digestion. So, whenever we eat food, the food is chewed into small particles with the help of our teeth. From there, the food is mixed with saliva, which makes the food soften and watery. Saliva also has salivary enzymes like amylase, which helps in breakdown of larger molecules into smaller molecules. After this, the hard muscular structure tongue will propulse the food from oral cavity into stomach through food pipe called as esophagus. In the stomach, there is a gland secreted. There are multiple glands secreted in the stomach, like gastric glands. They secrete hydrochloric acid, which makes it acidic in nature. Stomach also secretes mucus, which will neutralize this acid and helps in maintaining the stomach environment. However, we see people saying acidity or gastric because of this hydrochloric acid. And next thing is mucus secreted by stomach help in making the stomach environment basic in nature. In the stomach, with muscular structure, food is mixed. Propulsive nature of the stomach, like propulsive movements, will make food pass through small intestine. In the small intestine, the pancreas, bile from liver, all this release enzymes breaking down carbohydrates into small molecules. Fats into glycerol or triglycerides or fatty acids. Proteins into amino acids, and this will be later absorbed in small intestine. For example, I have drawn a small intestine. They have a multiple folds-like structure called as villi. They have a rich blood supply to the villi. This blood supply through the food is properly absorbed in the small intestine. After the small intestine, we get into large intestine. In large intestine, there is a 90% of absorption of water, and the remaining undigested food is or unabsorbed food which is present will be excreted out through anus as a waste material. Now we will see the questions of excretory system exercise. So difference between autotrophic and heterotrophic nutrition. Things first is autotrophic prepare their own food. They use carbon dioxide and water, and they prepare carbohydrates and oxygen. They are mostly herbivorous. And the third thing is why? What is the role of? Second question is plants get raw material. Where do plants get? Plants get raw materials like sunlight, carbon dioxide, and water from environment for photosynthesis. Third question is role of acid in stomach. Stomach role is they secrete hydrochloric acid. They make environment acidic, which will be helpful for enzymes to act and digest the food. Fourth question is function of digestive enzymes. They make carbohydrates into simple sugars, fats into fatty acids and triglycerides and glycerol, proteins into amino acids. How is the small intestine designed to absorb digested food? Small intestine has a long villi, which is the inner lining of small intestine, which is richly supplied with blood vessels essential for absorption of food into blood. Okay friends, thank you and I wish you good luck, and we'll come with next with respiration and excretion of the next chapter. Okay, thank you.